What's up, guys? Back here with the K1 Attack. Continuing on with that small wiring stuff that I had going on, I've got my new relay module. So I got it set up where it's got 8 relays. I'm hoping this will be enough. I had them do it so 6 of them are triggered negatively, 2 of them are done positively, and you'll see why that's a scenario when I get into it. But the big thing is I have this now. Now I got to get it mounted and then we can start wiring. So let's just get to it. All right, so last time I had talked about mounting this relay box basically underneath where the glove box is so you could get to it from like down here in the footwell. The problem that I'm seeing now is that in order to do that, it's gonna be difficult because I didn't pay attention to how the glove box works. And there's that panel here that like you had seen before, but the glove box comes across here, it's 2 pieces, and there's another piece that kind of tucks over the top of it. So if I mounted it down here like that, I'd have to pull the lower glove box portion out, and I'd have to remove this fucking panel. And that's not ideal, and it's gonna be somewhat difficult to get to. So I was talking to my buddy, and he had an idea. He was thinking, well, what if you mounted it under here so that it was straight up so that you could have a panel inside the glove box to open it up. And I was like, okay, that's not a bad idea. Now I'm kind of looking at it, trying to figure out how to make it work, and I think it's gonna work. It's just gonna be really tricky because it's gonna have to be something that I can remove, like the actual plate that holds the box, because if it's hard mounted, once again I won't be able to get the fuel tank out. So for one more time, again, I'm gonna pull the dash out. I gotta take that plate off that I welded, clean it up again, and then we're gonna be back to the drawing board trying to figure out how I'm gonna mount this. So let's just get to cutting. Okay, so I was doing a little bit of CAD, some cardboard aided drafting, and I got this kind of situated. I added some nut certs in a couple spots because of course I did. I fucking love those damn things. But at the moment, I'm kind of leaning towards, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Have it kind of like this, bolted on, have those bolts on there. So then, if I need to get the fuel tank out, I can unbolt it. This will be pretty accessible. I already kind of mounted the glove box on there. I need to put the dash on there just to make sure, but I think this is gonna work out. It's in a pretty reasonably good spot. The only thing I am kind of concerned about is like I have these big cables coming out of here, which I don't know if I want to run. I guess I could run them this way and run the small wires on that side, or cut a hole and run the big ones through there. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But I need to go buy some metal so I can build this because I don't have a big enough plate right now. So I'm going to go buy something so I can build that. I went to the metal supermarket, got some scrap pieces, bent this thing up, got some nut certs in there, got this thing kind of bolted down where it needs to be. I checked clearances. It does clear on the dash. However, there is an issue with the glove box, and I hadn't really thought about it before. I can kind of show you here with this mark. This is basically where I'm thinking about cutting it out. The issue that I was having is that this is the glove box top, and that shock has to go on there. And I was somewhat concerned that it was going to be somewhere in the way, but it looks like it sits pretty far back, so I think I'll be okay. And then you'll also notice that this, jeez, that's loud. This line here is basically for this section, which this section basically goes like this. So I was trying to make sure that this was in the right spot, that it wasn't going to interfere with where I wanted that hole, because obviously if it was covering it up, that'd be a huge pain in the ass. But I think I got it pretty much situated where it needs to be. So at this point, I need to cut this out, and I need to do like a really precision job. So I need to take my time on it, make sure that one's like perfect. And then this, I think I'm gonna take this off, clean this bracket up a little bit, throw some paint on it, probably spray some paint on here since that's all dicked up at this point, and throw it back on. Bracket's all painted up. Got the battery cable, ran over to that junction. I am missing some split loom right now. It's kind of just some leftovers I had. I think I have some somewhere. I'll have to find it. I did actually have to modify this module a little bit. I had to open this hole up a little bit more because for some reason it wasn't nearly as big as the negative side. I don't really know why, but not a big deal. I just had to open it up to get that cable in there. I did cut open the dash. This lines up pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close to lined up with this module, so I think that's gonna work out. So now I need to get working on the negative cable and then start running all the trigger wires and whatnot for the relays. Okay, you can kind of see what I got going on here now. I got the dash back on. Just for the moment, I was running the wire for the, basically there's like ignition switch power to the ECU. I had to run that one, which was coming out of this harness from that adapter harness that I have. I ended up cutting it down because like the plug on it, it was way too long. It didn't really make any sense, so I just cut it down, and now I'm redoing everything. So I got I have the other power running in from here for the main relay. Basically, this is the output to the ECU, and then I've got my input right there. That one's all situated. So now I need to move on to getting probably the starter relay, probably be one of the next ones. That and the fuel pump relay, I need to get those wired in. Okay, I've been doing a lot of wiring off camera. I've got quite a bit more done, as you can see. Like that ground, I ran that. Obviously, you already saw I had the main done. I've got the starter relay done, fuel pumps wired up. All that's good to go. I need to get some more fuses because the fuses I have aren't quite the right size, but they'll work for now. I did have to run a new starter wire. This wiring that was in the eBay harnesses was really small. It was like 16 gauge, maybe. So I upgraded, I ran 10 gauge all the way to the starter because, yeah, that 16 gauge sketched me out. It wasn't gonna work very well. So that's all good to go. Fuel pump, it's all ran down to there. I do need to run one more wire because apparently that Easy Guard unit needs a signal from the fuel pump to know when the car's running. So I need to run a wire from there to that. But for the most part, a lot of this stuff is pretty much sorted out. I ended up going through this harness pretty deep for all this wiring, and I ended up taking all the tape off and cutting it and modifying a whole bunch of stuff. There's still some random ones that I haven't, ran yet. Obviously, like the check engine light. I've got ELD, which I don't even think I need that. And then there's a bunch of extra ones. Some of them that I probably won't use, some of them that I will, like oil light and fan control. Obviously, I still got to wire up the fans, speed, and like tack. I don't really need that because it's all going to be ran through Haltech. It's not running a aftermarket gauge. It's running through the Haltech dash, so that should be good to go. At this point, I basically just need to. I think I need to wire up that fuel pump wire, and I think I need to run a brake switch, which I've got. The brake switch down in here on my proportioning valve. I just need to wire that guy up so that it sees that I'm pressing the brake before I start it. And yeah, we're getting really close to trying to crank this thing. Well guys, I guess you could say things are getting pretty serious. We're gonna put some oil in it. I've got the wiring is pretty much situated. I ran the wiring for the brake switch. I ended up running, it had to have power in and out of that module, so it'd have brake lights. So I ran that while I was at it. And yeah, pretty much buttoned up all that wiring. I need to go through a couple more things just to make sure. And obviously I need to hook up my laptop, get a tune going, and see if we can get some sort of tune on here before we try to fire it. I need to probably go get some fuel. I think I've only got like 1.5 gallons here, so it's probably not enough. That, and I think I'm gonna put this header on. That way I can at least kind of, have some sort of exhaust. But yeah, I think we're about ready to start it, so let's button this up. Oh, we're gonna dump at least 1 gallon of it in there. I'm just probably still gonna have to go to the gas station, but it'll be interesting to see if this, how slow it goes, even with just like 1 gallon. So kind of like I thought, you can see there's a bunch of fuel just kind of hanging out in the filler neck, which was kind of, what I thought was going to happen just because that's sitting downhill. I don't think it'll be that big a deal. Once you get moving, I think it'll kind of move its way back into the tank, or maybe it won't. I guess it's sealed up. It won't be that big of a deal. I do need to run my vent line. I just kind of shoved an AN fitting on here just for the moment, just so it wouldn't overflow, but works for now. Okay, it's that time. I gotta flip this kill switch and turn the key on and make sure the car doesn't burn to the ground with all the wiring that I've done. Then I'm gonna see if the laptop will hook up to it and see if I can get a tune it. So something screwy going on because I don't think the main relay kicked on. I don't think any of these relays kicked on. So I don't have something right. I gotta figure this out. Okay, I think I might have figured it out. Turns out I just can't read. Basically, I thought this 12 volt right here was an output. Turns out it might be an input. It looks like, according to this, in order to make the negative triggered relays work, I have to run 12 volts to that. So I need to probably pull the dash off so I can run 12 volts back over there, and then hopefully it'll work. Okay, got that power wire ran, got a fuse in it. Now we can try it. Ooh, look at this. Look at this, we got fuel. So there was reasoning in my madness. The reason I had that fuel line in that little bucket is because I wasn't sure if there was any contaminants in the line, so I wanted to make sure I got all that shit out before I put it up to the rail, because I didn't want to send all that crap through the injectors. So now that's on there. I can tighten up the fuel rail. And now that I know clearly the ECU powered up, that, yeah, I can start messing with seeing what the tune is like. And, yeah, see if we can make this thing run. Okay, so I bypassed the brake pedal switch for the moment, even though I ran that wiring because I don't want to put the brake pedal and the seat in there. We're gonna try and crank it. I've got the fuel pump fuse out because I want to make sure that we get at least a little bit of oil pressure before we attempt to start it. So let's try cranking it first. Well, no start. It's got fuel pressure back there, so something else going on. I kind of maybe, I don't know, crank sensor maybe? So I never changed the wiring, I don't think. I'll have to look into that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Well, I know it's getting fuel for sure. It's got fuel pressure at the rail, and the plugs are, it's probably hard to see, but they're wet. So it's definitely getting fuel into the cylinder, so it might be a spark problem. I wonder if maybe I don't have power to the coils, possibly? I'm not sure yet. I did find a fuel leak for sure. I had a fuel leak on the gauge on the rail. I'm also having a problem with the TPS, which that could be part of the problem. The TPS is like a Chinese deal, but I just needed one, so I just ordered one real quick. But I ended up having to cut the tabs on it because it's being really weird. It keeps throwing an error in Haltech, so that might be the reason it doesn't start. I'm not sure. I would think it would at least try to pop or do something, but it's not. So that makes me think coils. So I'm gonna start digging into that. Okay, I figured it out. So for some reason it didn't have power to the ignition coils. They weren't firing, so I checked ground. It had ground, but it didn't have power. And I traced the wire back to the E connector at the end of this engine harness. And for some reason, whoever put this freaking thing together got it backwards. They had the ignition coil wire and the fan switch wire, or fan control wire. They were switched, and they're both white wires, so I understand why they would be got them mixed up. But yeah, they got them mixed up. I literally swapped those pins back, and now we're good. So now I can show you that it does run. Hell yeah! It freaking runs! That's so awesome. I will admit though, the video you guys saw actually wasn't the first startup. I was actually on the phone with my buddy, and I was like, I think I'm gonna try to start it. And he was like, I'm gonna hear the startup? I was like, yeah. And then like I started it actually with the remote start, and it fired right off. Like, I mean, it was like, bam, running. And the problem was I couldn't shut it back off. It was supposed to shut back off with the key, and I don't know why, I just didn't want to shut back off, and I was like, fuck. So I ran over there, I disconnected the battery, nope, not enough. Because the battery kill switch I have, it's not wired up to the alternator, it's only wired up to the battery. So I pulled the fuel pump fuse, but it still had plenty of fuel in the lines. So I was like, shit. So I ran back over here, disconnected the map sensor, finally shut off. I was like, Jesus. Well, then I like went back in it, I hooked back everything back up, and then it was like locked. It like wouldn't let me do anything, and it was like the key thing was lighting up different. Turned out all I had to do was hit the brake. As soon as I connected the brake wires, because I don't have the brake pedal in there right now, it just like fixed itself and everything started working fine. So yeah, the only reason I had the remote start going is because I was trying to figure out the ignition coils, like whether it was firing or whatever. But like there isn't really a great option with this. Like, you technically can run a remote start with a manual transmission. It's just not ideal, and there's nothing really, as far as I mean, I might have to dig into it more, but as far as I can tell, there's nothing set up specifically so that like if E breaks up, like it'll, you know, and it knows it's out of gear or whatever, so that when you start it, it doesn't just fucking run through a house. Yeah, I think most likely I probably won't use it. I just shut it off at the moment. Now that I know it runs, it starts with the key, everything's working. Yeah, it's awesome. I honestly, and the base map that I loaded up, like literally I took the one from the Mini Cooper and I just entered in like different fuel injector parameters and changed a couple things, and it just like, bam, running. Awesome. I will say, I'm still having some issues with TPS. I'm gonna have to probably just gonna have to buy a brand name one, get one of the Acuity ones that are out there. I've heard good things. I've also got no intake temp sensor on here right now, so I need to get that installed. But those were literally the only two fault codes I had, and the thing was running smooth, idle, and perfect. Like, couldn't ask for more, guys. Couldn't ask for more. But I think that is going to be it on this one, because that is a great place to end this video. Awesome. So excited. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because there's a hell of a lot more coming. Yeah, do the things. You know. Peace out.